Let's take a look at a computerized sewing machine. Computerized sewing machines vary in the amount of stitches that they'll be able to bring you. This is the Singer Brilliance. It has 60 stitches, but some machines can have 100, 500, 700, 900 stitches. It tends to be the more that you pay, the more stitches and the more feet and accessories you actually have. But basically, this is what you're going to get with most computerized sewing machines. All of the stitches are here right in front of you, and there's a number underneath each one of those for you to choose with the dial on the top, with the buttons on the top, when you've decided which one you're going to stitch. So there's your straight stitch. We've got straight stitches for stretch fabric. Actually, as we go through these, the stitches will kind of give you an idea of what the machine's been designed to do. Blind hemming stitches, so you're talking about garments and curtain making, making drapes. We've got over edging stitches, and these kind of stitches can help to stop your fabric from fraying. So if you're selling anything that you're making, or if you're making something that goes in the wash a lot, maybe baby clothes, then this helps your fabric to last longer. These kind of stitches, decorative stitches, stitch in the ditch stitches, ladder stitches, all of these explained in your manual, are perfect for patchwork and for quilting. And the blanket stitches can give a lovely hand finish kind of look to your work. When you see dotted lines, that normally means it's a stretch stitch, and all of these are decorative stitches, so now you can embellish things like your cushion covers, pillowcases and tablecloths. The more solid stitches are satin stitches, so the stitch goes over a few times and makes that a little bit more three-dimensional, and then more decorative stitches here lead you onto a stitch that can help you sew buttons on. And on this machine we have 4 one-step buttonholes. I'll show you one of those in just a second. But let's choose one of the satin stitches. I like the scalloped edge, which is number 33. So when I come up to the dial at the top, I need to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can see as I'm choosing the different stitches, this is the stitch width and the stitch length is adjusting. With the computerized machine, the needle will automatically stop in the up position, and you'll see that moving from side to side when I choose the stitch. So if I put my foot down, my fabric underneath the machine, I can just start to sew. Now, all you're going to do with your fabric is guide it. So no pulling, no pushing, don't worry about tensions. Always, if you can, stitch out your stitch on a little scrap of the same fabric that you're going to be using for your project, just to make sure that it's exactly as you want it to look. So that's my scalloped edge. I can make those stitches a little bit tighter, I can make them a little bit wider. So with the computerized machine, not only do you have that set amount of stitches, but you can adjust them as well. So let's take this out and we'll have a look at the automatic buttonholes. With computerized machines, this is probably what your buttonhole foot looks like, and this can measure the size of your button. So if I drop the button into the back section here, doesn't matter whether it's 4 or 2 holes, squish it together, the distance between these 2 bars here is now the same as the button, and it's these 2 posts that will stop the sewing machine sewing, turn it around and bring it back in the opposite direction. So I'll show you how that works. Most feet will be snap on, snap off, so there'll be a lever at the back of your foot where you just press it and the foot drops off. Simple. So your next foot will go on in just the same way. An extra high presser foot lift means that I can lift that foot up even higher. Just move my thread out of the way there, and then drop it back on the bar that holds the feet in position. Like so. I'll just give that a bit of a help up. There we go, that's on. Now with the buttonhole, you'd normally thread your thread through the centre of the buttonhole foot to keep it tidy, but just for speed's sake, we'll leave that where it is. Now there's a bar that needs to be brought down at the side of the buttonhole here. And it's this bar that when the foot's going backwards and forwards, will stop and trigger the sewing machine to start sewing in the opposite direction. So let's put my fabric back underneath here, put my foot down, and I'll choose a simple buttonhole, which is number 56. And away we go. So your machine will stitch backwards in a straight line first of all, and then zigzag forwards. And the reason for that is so that it strengthens the buttonhole stitch underneath, and the zigzag should be in both the same directions on both sides. So if I've got a fabric with a plush, like a velvet or a fleece, the pile is flattened both in the same direction, so it looks nice and neat. When it finishes, my foot is still on the foot pedal, but that stitch has now finished and the sewing machine knows when to stop. So all you need to do now is trim away your tatty threads, all the loose threads like so. Take a quick unpick, which will come to you with the machine, and simply cut the hole. And because you've had the buttonhole measured to the same as your button, if you're doing a whole row of buttonholes, you know they're all going to be exactly the same. Now, as I said earlier, Computerised sewing machines will go from quite basic, which I think the Singer Brilliance is. Comprehensive range of stitches, a lot of feet that come with it. But the more you spend, the more stitches, the more feet, the more opportunity, the more buttonholes you're going to have. So do make sure you have a shop around. Many, many different brands and different ranges will bring you different features.